Good evening and welcome. The meeting of the Cleveland County Board of Education for Monday, March 13th is called to order, and I'd like to call on Mr. Henry Gilmore to provide our invocation.
Good evening. Let us pray. Father God, we come tonight. Thank you, Lord, for this beautiful day and for your many blessings. Father, my prayer tonight is that as this board goes about doing the business of Cleveland County Schools, that you will lead and guide them, that, Father, you will just guide their every decision, their every thought, their every comment, that, Father, you would just come into this room and guide this entire gathering tonight, and let everything that be done for your glory. It's in the name of Jesus I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Gilmore. Next, our Pledge of Allegiance, Mr. Fitch.
Yes, sir. Everyone stand, face the flag. Good. Salute, pledge. Pledge allegiance.
I'd like to call on Dr. Schultz for our middle school honors course.
All right, we'll get on with some more after this performance by our middle school honors course.
Toss the mighty ship around, smash the
How about that? All right, so the North Carolina Honors Chorus is a group of select students who are chosen across North Carolina to perform in Winston-Salem each year among similar superior vocalists. The purpose of this honors chorus is to provide students with the opportunity to develop their abilities to the greatest possible extent. Let's recognize a few students while they're here, and then we'll finish with some teachers along the way. Dr. Fisher is going to help with some certificates. Also, a big shout out to Dr. Hunnell, Dr. Wampler for all the help. Students, when I call your name, please come to the front and begin with Dr. Fisher here and work your way around through the school board, ending up on my left. At the conclusion, we'll take a group photo to commemorate this experience. First student, Keyston Brooks. Caleb Bunden. Laziah Bird. Jariah Gooden. And Miss Emma Goodnight could not be with us here tonight. And for the very talented teacher who helps make it all possible, Susan Gray. And Miss Heather Bunden, the fabulous, talented accompanist who usually plays on the piano, but as you saw in the back, was on the cajon.
Next, we have Mr. Matthew Green from Crest High School to talk about Meals of Hope.
Chairman Queen, members of the board, my name is Zealy Jackson. I am the president of the Crest High School FFA, and this is our Meals of Hope committee. This year, we have done an excellent service project that we would like to share with you all. I will introduce our committee chair, Michael Callahan.
How are you all tonight? All right. Oh, sorry about that. So over the summer, I got the opportunity to go to the Washington Leadership Conference. It is the FFA's premier leadership development event in Washington, D.C. And for that service project we did while we was there was we partnered with an organization based out of Naples, Florida called Meals of Hope. And what they do is, there we go. Sorry. To inspire and empower communities to come together to end hunger. So they provided our meals for us, and we raised over $15,000 for this event.
This event would not have been possible without our generous donors. Request donations began in the early days of October 2022 when members of our committee went out into the community and asked local businesses and people in the community to give what they could. If you see, our banner has all of our top sponsors on there, including Clearwater Paper and Duke Energy. Bradley Screen Printing made the banner for us as their donation. The picture on the right shows us at Clearwater Paper collecting our donation of $5,000 from them. Our final total collected was $15,000, $878,000.80. Sorry.
Good afternoon. I am Cheyenne Carpenter, the Crest High FFA historian and committee secretary for Meals of Hope. We held this packaging event on February 25th, 2023. This event was hosted at Poplar Springs Baptist Church, where we had roughly 130 community members that were members of local churches, all FFAs in Cleveland County, as well as business sponsors and some family members of people in Crest FFA. We were able to package 51,800 meals that are going to stay inside of Cleveland County and be distributed by Cleveland County School System and the Greater Cleveland County Baptist Association. So if you know someone who is in need of these meals, please contact the Crest High Agriculture Department.
So this is all of our challenge. To continue to emphasize student leadership development and student-led service projects in Cleveland County Schools. Help us become what the future needs next. Thank you.
That is awesome. Good job. Good job. Thank you. Hey, you must be automatic. Good job. Hey, good job. Yeah, good job. Amazing. Good job.
All right, here we go. All eyes on me. Ready? 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you. Oh, wait, time out. Okay. He didn't want in the picture.
Dr. Fisher, I believe you're up next.
Isn't it wonderful to see and hear about the great things going on in Cleveland County? And it, it does my heart good to see students advocating and taking leadership roles in our community and our county. That's wonderful. I'd like to take an opportunity tonight to recognize one of Cleveland County's finest, Georgia Green. Georgia, if you'll come up. I'll make you stand up here while I talk about you a little bit and embarrass you real good. So I'd like to recognize Georgia. Georgia is a student at Cleveland Innovation Academy. Georgia has been recently named the U.S. Presidential Scholar nominee in the arts. This nomination comes from being named a 2023 Young Arts National Finalist winner in the area of dance, contemporary modern, where she spent an all-expenses-paid week in Miami, Florida from January 8th to 15th. There's worse places to spend a week than in the nice confines of Miami, Florida, with 118 finalists from the entire United States. These finalists were there from the disciplines including classical music, visual arts, theater, writing, jazz performance, vocal, and film. She was one of 19 dancers chosen to participate in the Young Arts Week. From that event, 60 students were chosen among all disciplines for nomination as a U.S. Presidential Scholar nominee. Georgia worked with mentors, interviewed panelists, and collaborated with peers in various disciplines and performed on the stage. A culmination of all this was used in determining, and she was chosen as a scholar nominee. So what is the United States Presidential Scholar nominee? It's one of the nation's highest honors for high school students who exemplify artistic and academic excellence. These students completed and submitted U.S. Presidential Scholars Arts applications, and they'll be reviewed by the White House Commission. This commission will ultimately select 20 high school seniors to be recognized as U.S. Presidential Scholars in the Arts for their academic, artistic accomplishments, their leadership, community service, outreach initiatives, and overall creativity. So, Georgia, we both say congratulations on your accomplishment, one of 60 students across the United States, and also best of luck as you compete to be one of the 20 finalists. So we have a certificate for you.
Great job.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, again, it is my great pleasure to come before you tonight to recognize award-winning efforts by our student athletes this time. I would first like to recognize John David Curtis of Burns High. Mr. Curtis, please come forward. You don't want to spar with this guy, I promise. Mr. Curtis comes before you tonight as the 2A Wrestling State Champion for his weight class and also the Southern Piedmont Conference Wrestler of the Year. Join me in congratulating Mr. Curtis on this incredible wrestling achievement.
Good job, buddy.
All right, we're going to keep rolling. Alex Tysinger, please come forward. Ms. Tysinger comes before you tonight from Burns High in celebration of her state championship in the 50 freestyle with a time of 23.96, the fastest time of all classifications. Join me in congratulating Miss Alex Tysinger for her aquatic achievement.
Good job.
Lastly, it is my honor to introduce Jacob Jensen of Burns High. Mr. Jensen, come before us tonight, if you will. Where's he at? There he is. That's when I feel short. All right. We are celebrating his championships in the 100 fly and 50 freestyle with a new 50 freestyle state record time of 20.33. He was also named Most Outstanding Swimmer for the 2A State Championship. Join me in congratulating the swimming phenom, Mr. Jacob Jensen. All right, now we'll
Awesome job.
All right, everybody's in, ready? 1, 2, 3. Congratulations. Well done.
And next, we have Dr. O'Kelly to recognize our National Board Certified Teachers.
Good evening, Chair Queen and board members. Thank you for giving us this time to recognize our National Board educators. North Carolina is #1 ranked in the nation for the number of National Board teachers. And Cleveland County has 183 National Board educators that are currently active and are eligible to be within the eligibility group, which means we're about almost 20% teachers that have the national boards in Cleveland County. We're going to first recognize our renewals. Rhonda Champion. Rhonda Dixon. Lori Everett. Edie Greenlee.
Good job.
Heather Lale. Mitchell Litscomb. Dina Pauley. Todd Peeler. Samantha Thackerson.
Good job.
Lori Walters.
Good job.
We have a few renewals who couldn't make it tonight, but I'm going to say their name. Billy Joe Gone, Jason Bridges, Craig Cavalier, Tara Rom, Jody Raduli, Jennifer Robinson, Lauren Wortman.
All right, let's come on down.
We have 2 teachers who have received their initial National Board certification. Mary Beth Patton. And Angela Smith.
We thank all those folks for being here, and lots of good things going on in Cleveland County Schools. So, next is adoption of the agenda. What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to adopt.
I heard Mr. Fitch first. Who was the second? Mr. Bridges. Any questions or comments on the agenda? Those in favor should raise your hand. That carries 9-0. So next is public participation. We do have 5 speakers, which fits in our allotted time. I would like to read a little from our policy just as a reminder for folks. Public comments should not address any specific confidential student or personnel matter. Specific concerns related to confidential student or personnel matters should be directed to the superintendent or designee. Comments must be relevant to matters that are within the authority of the board. No profanity, vulgar language, or personal abuse against any person will be permitted. The board vests in its chair or other presiding officer authority to terminate the remarks of any individual when he or she does not adhere to the rules established above. Any person who willfully interrupts or disturbs a board meeting may be directed to leave the meeting by the presiding officer. Any person who refuses to leave may be prosecuted for disrupting a public meeting. Persons appearing before the board are reminded as a point of information that members of the Cleveland County Board of Education are without authority to act independently as individuals in official matters. Immediate answers are not generally possible and must be deferred pending investigation and consideration by the full board. So our first speaker is Parents Against Bullying.
Recently, a Crest Middle School special needs student was told to go home and effing kill himself. The guidance counselor said she had not notified the parent because the child was not in any danger, but she had notified administration. The principal denied being informed. One of the teachers said the student was lying. The principal later admitted the student was truthful. When the parent tried to learn where the breakdown came, the principal refused to discuss it, stating only that it had been handled. The only handling of that incident was the mishandling by school staff. After being bullied daily with no intervention from school staff, after reaching his tolerance level, a number 3 student put his hands on a bully. Thinking they were called in to discuss the bullying, the parents went to the school. Instead, they learned their child was being subjected to a threat assessment. There was no concern for the bullying. No, the administrators wanted a threat assessment because after reaching his breaking point, the child finally put his hands on a bully. When parents call us, we ask, have you contacted the school? When the parents have not, the overwhelming reason they state is because they do not trust the administrators to do anything. The above examples validate their concerns. The chair ejected a visitor for having a conversation while no business is being conducted, but did not call a board member out of order for openly criticizing Parents Against Bullying because that member had not had a conversation with that organization about bullying. Well, why not? We're here every month. Every board member received an invitation to a Parents Against Bullying open house, presenting an excellent opportunity for that conversation, but that member did not attend. So do not criticize Parents Against Bullying for your failure to have a conversation about bullying. Every board member in the Safety Committee pledged to work to reinstate the Bullying Task Force. Yet the word bullying was not even mentioned at the February committee meeting. Board, administrators, and teachers, if you do not start taking bullying seriously and take immediate steps to curb the bullying in our schools, you will have a whole lot more to worry about than just being called out. If the current trend, a major violent incident could occur here at any time, if that tragic event comes, the catastrophic consequences will lie directly at your feet. To close on a positive note, Parents Against Bullying commends James Love Elementary School's Principal Kepner, Assistant Principal Roberts, and Teacher Boswick. After meeting with us and a bullying victim's parent, they took immediate corrective action. Well done, James Love. You are the example every administrator should seek to emulate.
Next speaker is Nanette Linhart.
I have some handouts, but I will wait till the end, to hand them out.
I'll just have you give them to the secretary when you're finished.
Well, you could look at them. Okay. You want to do that now?
When you finish.
Okay. I too am going to speak on bullying. I did send you, all the board members, copies of an email. And in my hand is information from Center for Safer Schools. And this is North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. This comes from DPI. And the acronym is CFSS. So October 31st, 200 school districts and charter schools across North Carolina benefited from more than $74.1 million in dollars in school safety grants announced today by the Department of Public Instruction's Center for Safer Schools. All the school districts and charter schools that applied for the school safety grant funding for the 22-23 school year received an award and were notified last week. Cleveland County Schools got $1,310,891. And so safety is essential for effective teaching and learning, school safety. And so the second article, which is also in your email, January 24, 2023, the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, CFSS, officially opened its temporary training facility, and it's a weird name, Samarkand. It's basically a facility where, I believe, let me see, well, anyway, from the appropriation of $74 million in school safety grants to making school safety funding a priority for the Department of Public Instruction's budget, they have always been in the Center for Safer Schools. So, and I remember back in February, I think, Mr. Shores and Rodney Fitch made the comment that they hope to see a desire for additional SROs hired. And I wonder where that $1,310,891 went, and did you know about these monies? So in wrapping up, I have policies from Cleveland County Board of Education manual, policy manual. The Board of Education is concerned with the health, safety, and welfare of all children. The Board of Education recognizes the importance of incorporating current technology tools, including new methods of electronic communication into the classroom to
Ms.
enhance.
Linhart, your time has expired.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. But anyway, it's all about the bullying. And remember, I spoke last month on the 14-year-old child who
Thank you.
committed suicide. So, thank you.
The next speaker, I don't have the last name, all I have is Renee.
I don't have a game plan. I'm just going to speak from my heart. As a veteran, I am absolutely ashamed of every single one of you up here. Love you. Love you. Got mixed feelings at the point. But this school board is a disgrace to this county. Every single one of you ought to be ashamed of yourselves, because we come month after month after month with concerns about our children. Children, kids, little ones, medium-sized ones, big ones, and they fall on deaf ears. You threatened to kick me out last month. You just read from your paper that you've never read before, and it was directed at me pointedly, that if I didn't toe the line, you'd kick me out again. That is wrong. That is what we call bullying. Signs. Mr. Queen, I'm not going to call you chairman. I'm not going to give you that authority. You don't deserve it. You haven't earned it. You are the biggest bully in Cleveland County on this school board. And I know you. It's not like we haven't met before. You don't care about the kids. All you care about is title and status. And yes, I'm calling you out publicly on this.
That's fine.
I know. Oh, wow, you can talk back? Oh my goodness. We want you to talk back. We ask questions. We want answers. We don't get them. You make that rule. You changed it. You are allowed to talk back. If we ask a question, the school board should be able to talk back. This is like, what, the first time we've heard you speak back to a parent or another member of the community. You're not a deaf mute. Wow. You guys hear this, right? This is being taped, right? Good. Oh, we get a smirk too. Oh, I love this. Keep going. This is about children, and you think this is funny? Robert Queen, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. And last week you sat there and spoke about the things that you were learning in church and all this, and you brought that in here, and then you automatically go into hypocrite mode. And that's what got me upset last week. Had nothing to do with anything else. You went into a hypocrite mode. I'm all fine for being a Christian because we're all hypocrites. We're all sinners. None of us deserve to be here. But I will tell you this. Do not mess with our kids. I understand that. But don't mess with our kids. And that's what you're doing. Don't play with me.
The next speaker is Robert Williams.
Well, this is not the ninth speaker in a row, counting last month too, that's talked about bullying. I looked at the agenda for this meeting very closely. I find not one word about bullying and what the school board's going to do about it, not one. So apparently everybody's right. You guys do not care about children being bullied. You do not care. It's not on the agenda tonight. You had 5 people the last time. Now I'm the 4th tonight. We've all talked about bullying. And you're not going to do anything, so I'm not going to waste any more time with that. It's a waste for you. Well, sooner or later we'll find out. In the minutes of last meeting, there were several things that concerned me. You expect to be $1.5 million behind on operating school buses? I see not a word in the agenda tonight about what the problem is and what you're going to do to fix it. We're going to lay off teachers. Not a word in the agenda tonight about what we're going to do with teachers we're laying off. And tonight, number one in the nation with board-certified teachers. So, what do we get for being number one with board-certified teachers? We would expect to be number one in education. And we are close to number one if you turn the list upside down. We're so close to the bottom. The numbers just don't match. ESSR, emergency funding because of COVID. The money's running out, so we're going to lay off teachers. Well, what happened to this learning loss? All this time we're losing all this learning, nobody ever admitted we were losing learning. So we got a bunch of money, ESSR. What have we done with that money? It's about to run out, and we're going to lay off teachers. What have you done to make up for the learning that's been lost? The strategic plan. By the third graders will be at grade level in 2030. 2- and 3-year-old children now are already
Mr. Williams,
behind,
your time has expired.
and you haven't done anything about it.
Our next speaker is William Baker.
I've been coming to meetings quite a few months now. Parents for bullying has spoke several times. Hadn't heard anything about it. I have read where in the agenda and all, the whole school board openly broke the law by voting to change the starting of the new school year. What kind of message does that send to our children other than bullying? Does it say we get to pick and choose the laws we want to observe or do something to see about changing them? We're sending the wrong message. We're not doing anything about bullying. We're openly breaking the law. We're out of money. Where is it going? Supposed to be business people. If this is the way you're running your business, how are you still in business? It just don't add up. It was said back in October or November of last year, there was no problems in the schools with fightings, with vapes, with drugs, with bullying. Now we want more RSO officers to correct the problem. You don't have it both ways. It's one way. Either there's a problem, you get the officers, or there's not a problem and you don't need them. We need to straighten up. We need to be the adults. We need to set a good example and get our children on the right path.
Next, we have approval of the minutes. There are two sets of minutes, one for the February 13th business session and closed session general account, and then we have the February 13th closed session. What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
Second.
And that's both sets.
Yes, sir.
Motion by Mr. Fitch, second by Mr. Spurling. Any questions or discussion on the minutes? Those in favor, if you'd raise your hand. Any opposed? That carries 6-3. On to committee reports, Finance and Personnel, Mr. Shores.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The March 2nd Finance and Personnel Committee was called to order. Mr. McDaniel provided a 2022-23 budget update. Mr. McDaniel also shared that he had begun work on the 23-24 budget proposal. He's projecting salary and benefit increases along with the increases in utilities and services. His initial projections show a shortfall in both state and local funds if the staffing stays the same as this school year. The committee discussed possible ways to address the shortfall. An ESSER update was shared by Mr. McDaniel and Donna Piercy. ESSER funds too are coming to an end this year. As a result, school health techs are being cut because the COVID funding source is ending. Dr. Wampler gave a brief staffing update. Staffing allotments and cuts for the 23-24 school year have been shared with traditional school principals. At this time, all cuts that are needed will be able to make through retirements, resignations, or contract end dates. No other business. The next Finance Committee meeting will be April the 6th at 12 noon.
We have one action item out of personnel, and that is the standard personnel report. So you've got the personnel report and the substitute list. What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Fitch. Is that you, Mr. Shore? Second by Mr. Shores. Those in favor of the personnel report, if you'd raise your hand. Any opposed? That's 9-0. On the educational programs, Mr. Humphries.
All right, the March 3rd Education Programs Committee was called to order. Tropsy McClooney, Executive Director of Community Math Academy, presented some information to the committee regarding the current state of the Math Academy. Mrs. McClooney highlighted that this was the 14th year of the Math Academy and their partnership with Cleveland County Schools. The Math Academy's mission is to educate children with sound mathematical principles, and their vision is that all students will achieve their maximum potential. The Math Academy began at Mount Calvary in 2008 with 58 students. And now the enrollment is up to 261, which includes programs such as Bright Scholars for rising 3rd through 6th grade, Step Ahead, which is the advanced math students, and High Risers. Dr. Hunnell presented a sole source purchase request from Washington Elementary. The request is an interactive projector system for the stage to be used for family engagement sessions. The amount of the requested purchase is $5,230.75. Due to this being a sole source request, board approval is required. The committee members unanimously approved the request and recommended the request for tonight's Board of Education meeting. Paula Pillar presented several pre-K and Head Start items to the committee. Items presented include the district's Head Start grant packet and the January 2023 Head Start financials and required federal reports. The committee members unanimously recommended that all items receive board approval at tonight's meeting. Mr. Gilmore provided a brief PALS update, including some information about Book Nooks and a recent Head Start event. With no new business, the meeting was adjourned, and the next Education Program Committee meeting is scheduled for Thursday, April the 6th at 11 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Humphries. Several action items. Yes.
Yes, I've been called by several teachers, and this goes to the education. They'd like to see the Ready, Set, Grow to start back, I guess, for the preschoolers in the summertime, a couple weeks beforehand, sort of get those preschoolers ready for when school starts in August. And I thought I'd just bring that up.
We can refer that to committee. First action item is the goal coming from the Educational Program Committee. That goal reads, to increase STEM instruction, engagement, and opportunities for all students by creating classroom, district, and community partnerships throughout our county and region. And that does come from committee, recommended as adding that goal to our strategic plan. Any questions or discussion? Those in favor, if you'd raise your hand. That carries 9-0. Next are the Head Start items. There are several of those. So we have the Head Start eligibility for the 23-24 school year. the updated Head Start program goals, the Head Start COVID-19 mitigation policy, the Head Start updated community assessment. There's the teacher and TA plans. There's two parts of that, Plan 1 and Plan 2. Have the Head Start budget proposal for 23 and 24. And then we have the January of 23 report to the Policy Council and School Board, and the January 23 Head Start financial report. So if there's no objection, we'll take all those together. Those do come from committee, recommended for approval. Any questions or discussion? Those in favor, if you'd raise your hand. That carries 9-0. And last is the sole source purchase for Washington Elementary. This is, the company name is iClick. The program, I think, is called Beam. And the cost of that is $5,230.75, and I believe that's paid for out of Title I funds from Washington Elementary. It's coming from committee, recommended for approval. Any questions or discussion? Those in favor, if you'd raise your hand. And that carries 9-0. Next is our operations report. Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Chairman McQueen. The March 3rd Operations Committee meeting was called to order. Dr. Jennifer Wampler and Chip Childers provided the capital projects report to the committee. This report will be attached to the board's March 3rd agenda as an information item. Mr. Childers provided an update on the elevator modernization at Burns High. Dr. Wampler and Mr. Childers shared an update on the MEP HVAC projects at our high schools, as well as change orders over $75,000 for approval at Burns, Crest, and Shelby. The change orders for approval are painting projects at Burns in the amount of $169,709. Two, painting project at Crest in the amount of $176,977. These projects are for the painting of the entire classrooms and halls impacted by the HVAC MEP project and will be completed as the phases are completed themselves. The committee approved these change orders by a vote of 2-1. The painting was not included in the original bid process for several reasons, including the uncertainty of its inclusion in allowable ESSER expenses. Upon clarification of allowable expenses, the recommendation was made to paint all areas impacted by the HVAC MEP projects. Third change order is for the moving of HVAC units from the gym to the weight room roof at Shelby High School in the amount of $89,665. This change order will allow the units to be more accessible for maintenance and was approved unanimously by the committee. These recommendations will be presented to the Board of Education tonight for full board approval. John Yarbrough updated the board on the auditorium projects and the projects made at each site. Mr. Yarbrough also presented a change order for the installation of a sheet pile wall at the Burns High car rider entrance, which was designed by Catawba Valley Engineering and Testing. Mr. Yarbrough explained the need for this change order, and it was approved unanimously by the committee. There's project contingency money available for this change order. The change will address long-term potential issues with the drive due to lingering water areas on the school campus. This change order is on tonight's agenda for approval. Dr. Wampler and Ed Richards shared a sole source request to have HVAC building automation system at Central Services retro commissioned. The cost is $11,711 and is being brought to the board for approval because it's a sole source. Ed Richards explained the need for this retro commissioning. The committee approved this unanimously, and it is on tonight's agenda for approval. Dr. Wampler presented a request for approval to lease a quad mobile unit with bathrooms at Bethwell Elementary School due to increasing enrollment. This request was approved 2-1 and will be recommended for approval on tonight's agenda. Dr. Wampler shared an initial draft drawing of the press box for Burns, which was drawn by Holland and Hamrick. The drawing for Crest is the same. The initial drawing was positively received and is an excellent upgrade to the current bathroom and press box facilities. Plans will be shared with school administration for feedback soon. With no new business, the meeting was adjourned. The next Operations Committee meeting is scheduled for Thursday, April 6th at 9 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Mr. Blanton.
Yes. That 2-1 vote, I guess y'all know who the one was that didn't vote against it for it. It was me. On the quad unit,
Mr. Blank, if we could discuss each one as we go to the action items, and then.
okay, we'll go back to
that'll
the
work.
very first one then. Is that the one I need to go to, Burns High School,
Well,
106?
we're on, if you got something beside it, now, we've got several action items that we can discuss.
Okay, we'll
comments
go
on
to each one of them. When you
Okay.
come to the action item, we'll not do them together.
The first one is the district locks. This did not make it to committee. The bid came in a couple hours after the committee meeting. The information's been in the board packet, and this money does come out of the safety grant. This is for $99,856.09. It'll be to Seven Oaks Hardware, and this will bring all our exterior door locks at all schools up to the same configuration. And I think anything beyond that starts getting into some confidential there, but this will need, since it's not been to committee, this will need a motion and a second.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Taylor, second by Mr. Spurling. Any questions or discussion on the door locks? Those in favor, if you'd raise your hand. And that carries 9-0. All right, next is the Beth Ware mobile quad lease. Mr. Blanton, did you have anything
Yes.
on that?
In the past, we moved some children around from one district, from one school to another. A mile and a half down the road, we got open classrooms, I believe. Don't know for sure. I tried to see how many students could fit in that school down there, but I do know there are around 200 and something in the school. We could take $69,000 or $59,000 and plus $4,000 or $6,000 a month in rent and take those buildings down that's condemned at Beth Ware and start this new building. Get ready to get started. Instead of spending it, because that money, when we rent this mobile unit, it's gone. It's blowed. When we got space a mile and a half down the road. So I feel that we ought to look into that before we vote to spend and rent a quad unit if we can move those kids, because we have had them there before. We brought them back to Beth Ware. They have kids switch back and forth there. I don't know that I've ever said that they moved a whole class on these pre-Ks that's starting and to school. So I think that before we lease this unit, that we need to look to see if we've got enough room. If we can handle them at North, then save that money and put it to get ready to go to work on Beth Ware School and fix that school. You can do a lot of tearing down and a lot of hauling off for $6,000 a month. And right here, this one is new. It's $59,000 to set up, $69,000 for the other one to set up, and $6,000 a month rent for 2 years or 3 years, $4,500. That's a lot of money. I believe in being a little bit conservative. We've got the space a mile and a half down the road to put the children. Move those teachers over there that mile and a half, and let's get started knocking a building down that's condemned for students, not for teachers. Teachers can go in there with the office, but students can't, by my understanding. So, Board, I think you ought to be conservative about our money just a little bit, because you're not talking about a mile and a half. We shut 2 buildings down right here in Shelby. We shut them down. We were told the same thing at Kings Mountain, and people got to fussing, and that went away. And don't say that I'm telling a lie, because I'll pull the paper out and show, because I believe in us being conservative, and Okay, I guess that's all I can say about that right there, because we need to look if we got enough space in North Elementary to put these kids instead of
Dr. Fisher,
spending.
if you'd like to respond to that.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask for one clarification?
Yes,
Okay, is Mr. Blanton?
please speak in.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is Mr. Blanton recommending that we redraw the lines in Kings Mountain? Is that?
Did we do it before?
I'm just asking if that's what you're asking for us to do.
So that was going to be my question, Mr. Chairman, that, we would need a recommendation to redraw the lines. We would need a recommendation from the board to decide which parents move from school A to school B. It's longer than 1.5 miles. You're looking at relocation of lots of services. There's nothing changed about the plan. The conversation about relocating elementaries and doing different things in the Kings Mountain zone is dependent upon future funding. So to do that at this point is not an option. So it's not that anything's gone out the window, it's just not an option at this time. So, to do something like that, and we've not moved, I know there was some comments about moving classes and that type of thing, that's just not happened. There has been
There's
transfers,
kids.
and we have students that transfer all the time from schools all over the county. But the comment was made in committee that, we moved one class from the other. And I don't think that was,
I never
again, that's
said
secondhand
class at one
Please let
time.
Dr. Fisher finish.
Again, that's secondhand information because I wasn't in the committee meeting, but the report I got was that those things were said. We've not moved a pre-K class from Beth Ware to North or from North to Beth Ware. That's not the case. We do have students that transfer, but the fact of moving classrooms from one school to the other, it is possible to do that. But, we'll need direction on which students get removed, which teachers get removed, where are the lines, and you're going to do something like that, and then a couple years later, when you are able to build some capacity on some of your schools, you're going to redo them again. So in my opinion, I understand the confines of this is money on a short-term fix, but it is just that. It is a short-term fix as a part of a bigger issue. Beth Ware is the elementary school that is growing. We're going to have this issue regardless. So that's why the recommendation is to put the students in the mobile units there to be able to create some space in the school so we can look at some long-term options for capacity there.
Mr. Short.
Without redrawing the lines, if we move kids, would that disrupt the bus routes?
Yes, sir. I mean, very much so. You're going to have, depends on where you take kids from. You're going to have kids that live in the Beth Ware's district. Now you're busing the north. I mean, it's just not that easy. I mean, if that's the direction that the board wants to go, then we can do that. We can't do that from now till August. But if that's the direction we want to go, then we can do that. But you're looking at a major shakeup of where students are going and versus where they're assigned.
So, but
Is it not something we can look into?
If that's the direction that the board wants to go, that's fine. Again, Mr. Gregg, it's the first time I've heard about it tonight. That's the first time I've heard that recommendation tonight. So you're kind of sending us something that we've thrown a curveball.
Any other questions? Mr. Sterling.
how soon do we need, like, this trailer to add accommodations? Are we already out of space and we need it now? Or is this something we're looking at, we're projecting the future?
We need classroom space for next August.
Any other questions or comments?
I got one. If we looked into what you're talking about redrawing the lines or moving, how long would that take to get something like that implemented?
Well, I think, to do it right, it takes a while because what you need to do is understand when you redraw a line, are you going to redraw it just for a year or two and then go back and redraw it again? I mean, nothing's more aggravating to a parent is I'm going to this school here and I'm going to this school. I mean, are we going to grandfather kids that are already at Beth Ware? If you do that, if you're going to tell a third or fourth grade parent you've gone to Beth Ware for 3 or 4 years and, oh, by the way, now you can't stay there, you're going to have to go somewhere else, I don't think that's the right thing to do. So if you grandfather that in, that doesn't help you for 3 or 4 years. So to answer your question, you could do that in a 6 to 9 month turnaround, but unless you're really looking at what you're going to do in that attendance zone for a long period of time, you need to be careful of not to to redraw the lines to fix this issue, but you redo the lines to fix this issue, and you've created, other issues on the backside. I think we need to look at our strategic plan and our capital improvements plan and what we're going to do in that attendance zone for the next 15 or 20 years, and look at that.
What's the contract for these how long?
Be 5 years, I think. 5 years.
So we've not locked into any of that yet.
Mr. Blunt?
All right, let's bring this option back. Kings Mountain Middle School is full. We're going to have to add on to that school one of these days if Kings Mountain grows anymore. Okay, then if that takes place, then we'll shut that intermediate school down just like we did Shelby. And if you shut Kings Mountain Intermediate down, then you freed up an elementary school for elementary where the intermediate school is now. But we've got to add on to Kings Mountain Middle before we can actually do anything, or even if we didn't shut the intermediate down, we're going to have to do something sooner or later at Kings Mountain Middle School. So do we need to be making plans to add 4 classrooms on the Kings Mountain Middle School? I'm talking on what the architects said when they need to be coming in here talking to us the way we spent money to them. And then I might not have some of these questions that I got, because I was told the other day that y'all hired the architects. Okay, did we listen to them completely? So if we need to add on to the middle school, we'd move that 6th grade to the middle school, then that would open up another elementary school all the way. And then Bethwire, we're going to have to do something anyway. So I guess we need to get the ball rolling.
Well, Mr. Blunt,
I know you need money.
You're talking a 5 to 7 year plan. And I have,
Well, I've been here 13 when we've been talking about it.
Well,
or 11.
We built auditoriums. We're replacing HVACs in our schools. We built North Shelby. We built Shelby Middle. So the perception that we're not done anything is not accurate.
I've never said we hadn't done anything.
Perception you put. So the fact of the matter is, you're talking about a 5 to 7 year period of time, which that's where we're going. We've had those conversations. That's a good recitation of the conversations that have been going on of what we want to do over the next 5 to 7 years. Yes, it does take money. Yes, it takes time. It takes planning. But those are things that will come to the board over time. But this isn't a proposal for an immediate need we have at Bethware Elementary. If not, then just understand we're going to be putting too many kids in classrooms, and we're not going to be compliant with class size. If that's the other direction you want to go, then that will need to vote for the board to say we're going to have.
I'm not saying fill those classrooms on up anymore, but I'm saying.
Any other questions or discussion? Mr. Spurgeon?
One more time. So, I agree with Danny. I'm very conservative. I like saving money. But I also like doing things right the first time. So I am all for using money to build on schools, but it makes no sense to me to redraw lines for knowing it's only going to be for a couple of years. It's a short-term fix. How many parents that have kids in elementary school want their kids to go somewhere else for 2 years or 3 years or 4 years? And then all of a sudden you got to uproot them from their friends and tell them they're going somewhere else. So Danny, I agree with you saving money, but I don't like the fact of doing something just to redo it in a couple of years.
Okay, just to clarify, we're talking, this recommendation is for is with box modular. It's for 4 classrooms and 3 bathrooms. Delivery and setup is $69,700, and then it's $3,600 a month for a 5-year lease. Now, we didn't discuss the term in committee. We can handle that as a separate motion. My recommendation would be a 5-year lease, because by the time we demo the old buildings, do the grading, design work, it's going to be at least a 5-year.
Yeah, we pulled out of the pocket. This is part of a facility study that we've been talking about for a long time. So, you know, this really, from an operations standpoint, is not necessarily a surprise. We know we have to generate space everywhere to be able to do some things everywhere. That's just, I mean, it's, there's no other way to create space in there without putting the students in that spot to be able to create some space. And because we're seeing growth, that's an area that we're going to do that.
So have we done all the options that we could do? We're looking at $250,000 have we looked at all the possibilities? And just go back before the planning committee and make sure we exhausted all options and everything else?
If that's what the board wants to do, then that's fine, but just understand that, you know, we'll come to a point where we're not ready for sure.
There is a recommendation from the committee for approval, so I would say, you know, if it's approved, we move forward. If it's not approved, then we go back to the
Can we modify the recommendation and specify the
I think that would be approved.
So I'll make a motion to amend the recommendation for 4 trailers, 3 bathrooms at the price stated, up to 5 years.
Okay, is there a second on that? Any discussion on the length of the contract? Those in favor of the amendment as stated, you raise your hand. Any opposed? Carries 6-3. So we're back to the main motion, so this would be to box modular for 4 classrooms, 3 bathrooms, set up delivery $69,700, $3,600 a month, and that is for the 5-year lease. This is amended to go up to 5 years. Those in favor?
That's what we just voted.
We did.
Just.
That was the amendment.
I did not discuss terms.
So this motion has been amended to go to 5 years. Those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? That carries 6-3. Thank you, Dr. Fisher. Next one is the Central Services Retro Commission. This is Engineer Control Solutions. Cost of that is $11,711. This comes from committee recommended for approval. Any questions or discussion? Those in favor, please raise your hand. Carries 9-0. Next is the Burns Heating and Air Change Order. This will be with Beam Construction. Cost is $169,709. It is contained all areas affected by the heating and air change out in Burns High School. That does come from committee recommended for approval. Any discussion? Mr. Black.
$4,823.41 for materials. Out of a cost change of $170,000, you got $325 worth of tax. It's a total of $5148.99. That sure is a little amount of materials for $170,953.
You're looking at the $196,000.
$170,953.
Let's just say it's subcontractors.
The subcontractor is $146,728.
So that was subcontractor, all that other is Beam's labor materials to handle that.
I see that. Labor and materials, $11,496.
That's the Beam Construction themselves, 146, instead of sub-painting subcontractor. That's labor and materials for the paint.
Payroll tax and insurance, 45%. Labor, $4,000. It's showing that right there. They come to a total of $11,496. PO,
$36,728. Overhead and profit, $11,005 or whatever. I know that a 52-year-old building, when we figure on the new and old, anybody that's been looking at that would have known that the 52-year-old building, it wasn't gonna look good. Not painted, when you got a streak around the top, painted in the rest, or where the unit was, it painted, it did not paint the rest. I understand that. But the project manager and our architects should have been preaching that to us, say, hey, y'all sure is this what y'all want to do? Because it ain't gonna look good. That's what that architect should have been telling us. Okay. So me saying all of that, I won't have to say it on all them others. They should have took care of that. And our contingency money, I asked that in our meeting, was they taking this out of contingency, and they said no. Yes, we are. This is contingency. It was told in the meeting that it was not coming out of contingency. I asked that question point blank.
So today, just to let everybody know, today, Chris.
That's right.
Right? And we learned today that when they first started doing the HVAC system, that it was not clear whether they could use ESSER money, which is money that was due to COVID. It was not clear whether they could use ESSER money for the paint. So recently, there was clarification that came out and said, yes, you can use ESSER money. ESSER money runs out in 6 months.
September 24th.
Sooner. You either use it or you lose it. So if we don't do it with ESSER money, we have a choice. You leave it like it is, regardless of whether somebody should have known or not. Leave it like it is so it looks terrible. And then later, you paint it. So then you gotta hire somebody to remove all the furniture and paint it. And then you use our, what is the money called? Our capital funds money that can be used for something else. So why would we not use the ESSER money that we're gonna lose anyway to finish the job?
Well, I want to get one thing clear. Dr. Fisher wasn't there, so he can't answer. Did I not ask the question about the contingency? Why was we not using that question? And we said. You wasn't in there, was you?
At the operations.
Oh, okay, all right.
So what this boils down to is we're using federal COVID money to save $170,000 in county tax money. I don't know, and the next one's gonna be the same thing, so I don't know how to get a better deal than that. And it's tax money, I paid it, whether it's going to federal or state, and, you know, daggone, we got some of that federal money back, we might as well use it. So this is saving county capital money that we have very little of. Any other questions or comments on this one? Those in favor, if you'd raise your hand. Any opposed? You're opposed?
Well, I don't really know enough about that because I'm not in that particular. But I do think the whole question is the small amount of the supplies needed to.
I've just explained that. This is a standard AIA change order form. So Beam Construction submitting a change order, so they list, because they are our contractor, they list their expenses. So they're listing their material, their labor, their overhead, their profit. They have to show them. The subcontractor line is the painting subcontractor. So all the paint and labor to actually do the painting is in that, which is $146,000. Yes, it's project management. That labor material for painting is gonna be project management, and they're probably having to do have something for those principals to be doing that day. They may have other duties, they may be testing that day. I don't know everything we test and don't test. So that's for them to work out, so that we're not any more disruption than we are. So with that, I'm going to, unless there's anything really pressing, I'm going to call for the vote on this. All right, those in favor of policy 5020 as provided by the policy committee, if you raise your hand. Any opposed? Carry 6-3. Mr. Fitch, you have the safety committee member.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. February 28th meeting of the safety committee was called to order. Dr. Stephen Fisher updated the committee on the Stop the Bleed initiative. The district's goal is multi-tiered and begins with allowing Stop the Bleed kids with the AED machines in school. As funding becomes available, additional Stop the Bleed kids will be layered in school with the ultimate goal of having a kid per classroom. The district is working with healthcare providers on a grant for initiative funding of these kids. Dr. Greg Show provided a robust overview of the district's new visitor management system. Dr. Show worked with the committee through the process of visitor check-in and check-out. Dr. Shaw highlighted some of the possibilities that are scheduled to be implemented at schools as schools become more familiar with the system. A few questions were asked about the student ID badges, and Dr. Shaw showcased how student ID badges would be integrated into the system. There were no agency reports. Ms. Sandy Hammer spoke to the committee about her meeting with the social workers earlier that morning. Ms. Hammer mentioned work being done in the area of student truancy, mediation, and related services for students and parents. Mr. Rodney Borders reiterated the importance of a good relationship between students, parents, and community agencies. Many of the same things that were presented to social workers were communicated to school resource officers. Dr. Greg Shaw bragged on the ongoing positive work relationship that Cleveland County Schools has with law enforcement and first responding agencies. Dr. Fisher highlighted the upcoming state tornado drill as the only item of new business. Sugar General Staff and the committee entered the closed session to discuss school safety plans and responses. Upon completion of the closed session, the meeting was adjourned. The next safety committee meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, April 4th, 2023 at 12 noon.
Thank you, Mr. Fitch. Dr. Fisher, do you have an update?
Williams has come out of the box. It's down here, I don't know if you
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Just have a few quick updates. Reminder all that the end of the third quarter is Thursday, March 16th. Hard to believe that. On Thursday, 3/4 of our school year will be complete. Friday, March 17th, is a teacher work day, so it's closed for all students this Friday. On Monday, March 20th, is a letters training day, so it's closed for students in kindergarten through 5th grade. Our elementary schools have notified parents, and that's on their calendar, but that is a letters training day for K-5 staff. Students in grades 6 through 12 will be in session on Monday the 20th, but not students in grades K-5. And the final announcement, from a calendar standpoint, our spring break does begin on Friday, Good Friday, April 7th. Students are out that day. Spring break is the entire next week. It concludes on Friday, April 14th. Students and staff return to school on Monday, April 17th. That's all I have today.
Thank you. Next is our board member comments. Mr. Green, you have anything?
Yeah, went to Washington School today, and it's the first time I've been there since 1974. That school really had everything in order. You know, the staff and the principal there is really doing a good job, I think. We went around several of the classrooms, and I was amazed at what the school actually looked like. That school is a very nice location for a school. I think the location might be one of the problems with some of the things that we have going on over there, but you know, as far as the district lines and stuff. But they've done a really good job over there, and I was glad to get to go see it today. That's all I heard.
Yeah, I just want to take a minute and mention that I had an opportunity this past Friday to attend a musical at the Ship Musical put on by the Springmore Elementary Show Choir. And folks, if you don't realize the good things going on in the school system, you maybe need to get out and attend some of those things. Those students done a tremendous job with that musical, and those teachers. It was really something to see for those elementary school students. And there's a lot of good things going on in our school system. I know we sit here and talk about all the stuff and arguing and bicker about things that we think ought to be different, but folks, there's a lot of good things going on in Cleveland County. And we need to start, I think, bringing to light more of those good things than all the negative that we see. I think these students deserve that. These students deserve us to talk about what they're doing and the tremendous things going on in this school system. And I had an opportunity to attend Boston Elementary this morning as well. I had to leave just a little early. There's a lot of good things going on there. Miss Green's doing a tremendous job with that school. And I think all of those folks need to be applauded for the hard work and dedication they're putting in this school system. Thank you.
So, I'm gonna echo a lot of what Mr. Fitz just said. There's a lot of good things going on in our school system. There really are. We just look at the people that were recognized tonight. FFA members, we have athletes that are breaking state records. We have teachers that are earning credentials. I mean, how can you even look at our school system and think there's more good going on than there is bad? And it's the 1-2% of the bad that is allowance. We should be praising every day the good things going on. I've been on kind of a roll tonight. I usually don't. I'm usually not as combative as I've been lately. But you know, I really say enough is enough. At some point, you got to look at the good. Now, do we have bad things going on? Absolutely. There's bad things going on everywhere. But there's some people that act like it's mostly bad, and it's really not. You live in a dark world with a pinlight, when we should be living in the light. You know, with a shadow every once in a while. You know, I will say, there was a comment made today about how we're going to lay off teachers. I don't know where that information came from. As George said today, it's all through attrition. When somebody retires, maybe they don't need to be replaced. Maybe somebody else is going to get a pay raise and take their job, you know, or part of their job. Maybe they take on extra duties. But I've not heard anywhere where teachers get laid off. That, you know, you can't believe everything that's written on the internet, believe it or not. It ain't all true. As far as the comment about the calendar breaking the rules, listen, this board, every member on this board went round and round and back and forth. We were very concerned about breaking the law. Very concerned. And what that portrays to our kids. But more than anything, we were worried and did to the teachers and did to the students. You know, the system has worked and worked and worked to get that law changed. And when there's one person standing in the way of changing the law, you know, I hate to say it, listen, somebody made a comment they're a veteran. I was in the Army for 26 years. I told my guys all the time, if you don't like the law, the rules, then change it. But until it's changed, follow. And listen, I had heartache about this vote. I did. I really was conflicted inside about this vote. But when it came right down to it, I had to look what was best for our students and what was best for our teachers. And I asked. I didn't make that judgment. We put it out, we put it for a public vote. 76% of the public said they wanted that calendar. Every teacher I talked to, they wanted that calendar. We went and talked to students twice at Burns High School about the calendar. Overwhelmingly, the civics classes at Burns wanted that calendar. Why in the world would we go against that? And yes, I was conflicted about it. But in the long run, that was what was best. And here's my final. I know a lot of people were talking about bullying. And I am totally against bullying. I laid it out on the line when I was running for this office. I went to a forum, answered every question. But I never said I supported a task force. What I did say is I supported whatever benefited the kids the most. Not just the bullying, but the bullying. I am a huge believer that we will never stop bullying without figuring out why the bully is doing it. You're not going to stop it. Kick them out of school for 5 days. What are they going to do? In 5 days, you're going to come back and bully again. Why don't we figure out why they're doing it? And every time I've asked the question, I've asked multiple times in committee meetings. I've come up here to the school and asked, to Central Services and asked, what are we doing to help not only our bullied, but our bullies? What are we doing to help them? And thus far, we have counselors. We have systems in place to help. Am I saying it doesn't need any improvement? No, I'm not saying that. But you know what? Every time there's a conflict, it does not mean somebody's getting bullied. It means we have a disagreement. I can have a disagreement with somebody. And now, if I have a disagreement with you today, and tomorrow, and the next day, and it's repetitive, then maybe we got a problem. But you know, just because we disagree does not mean there's bullying. You know, and when you water it down like that, when you make everything a bullying incident, you water it down, and you make it less effective, and you make people turn their ears off. You're not helping it when you do that.
I went to Boston today, had a very good visit, for what they're doing up there. Ms. Green led us around, and, we went to several classrooms, and, they had a little tasting thing, in the science class. That teacher, he was on. And he passed out every child a piece of paper. Also, he gave us he said, lick that thing, and what does it taste like? Tastes like a piece of paper. Passed out another one. But then he passed out a piece of candy that you didn't eat, maybe to kill the bitterness, or you didn't have no taste. One of the two. Well, I always go peppermint, my part. But he had Jolly Ranchers. And he passed out all the kids. I think he just give them kids a Jolly Rancher. Because they wasn't one of us tasted anything except for Dr. Phil. thank everybody for what they're doing. Mr. Rutherford.
It's always the hardest going last, and every month I consider what I'm gonna end up with. So tonight, we're gonna have a civics lesson. And Mr. Sperling and I did get to visit Burns civics classes a couple times last month. Had a good time. And enjoyed talking to them about the type of government we have. We talked about the calendar law. And talking about the type of government, I asked them to explain, what functions does the school board provide? So in a representative republic, we've got a legislative branch, an executive branch, and a judicial branch. Now, the primary function of the board is legislative. We write laws called policies. So we write the rules for our school district. In the executive branch, that's our superintendent and the principals. They carry out and enforce the rules. Now, the tricky part, and it kind of caught the students off guard, is that the school board also provides the judicial part. So it's kind of nice we get to write the rules and then interpret our rules. So, that's just the way the law's set up for us to do. And the reason so if you go through and you have an issue with the executive branch, then it goes to the judicial branch for a final hearing. And so the board becomes a quasi-judicial board and has that final hearing. And I'm going through all this maybe to help folks with the process of how things need to be resolved. Since we already do perform a quasi-judicial function, we can't listen and partake, ex parte communication, and hear facts of a case before it's actually brought to us. So if there's an incident at a school, whether it's with a homework, a bullying situation, a fight, whatever it is, follow that chain of command up. We have policies in place, we have grievance policies in place that you can follow. If you don't have those, our administration will be glad to get that to you and help you follow that. But as you go through the process, ultimately, it will get back to this board for a hearing. And at that point, if we've had any communication on an incident before it gets to us for a hearing, that board member's gonna have to recuse themselves. And so, bringing an issue to us for 3 minutes, again, I've talked about that several times. That's not your best avenue, because again, you only got 3 minutes. We can't discuss private student matters here. We can't discuss private personnel matters here. If you'll work your way through the process, and you go all the way through, you go through Dr. Fisher, if you don't get something satisfactory, I guarantee you'll get a hearing before this board. I'm not gonna guarantee you'll like what we decide, but I'll guarantee you get a hearing. So that's your civics lesson. I do want to give a shout out to Crest High School staff. As a first responder, we respond to medical calls in our district. We had 2 at Crest High School last week, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the school nurse's name right now, but I'd like to give her kudos for the way she handled a couple of situations, and also to the assistant principal, Mr. Robson. Again, I can't get into any privacy things there, but the way he came in and just took care of the situation, let the student know he's going to be okay, but there were other things to be considered, and I just want to give Mr. Shields and his staff, especially Mr. Robson, congratulations on that. So, Mr. Shores, you have a motion in the closed session?
Yeah, I'm moving in a closed session, of course, North Carolina General Statute 143-3-11A, Section 1, to discuss a confidential student matter. Section 3, to consult with an attorney regarding parish versus Cleveland County school matters. Section 5I, to provide instructions regarding contract negotiations.
Those in favor of going into closed session, raise your hand. You have a motion to re-enter open session. Motion by Mr. Bridges. Second. I think I heard Mr. Grigg. Those in favor, if you raise your hand. Carries 9-0. In closed session, the board received an update from our attorney on the Paris versus Board of Education case. We received an update on an OCR complaint and discussed several contract negotiations. We do have one action item coming out of closed session. The board has been asked to extend the due diligence period on the sale of Central School. What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to approve the extension.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Humphries. That extension would be for 6 months.
Yes.
I don't think it's 180 days. I think it's 6 months. Everybody catch that? So the motion is to extend the due diligence period for 6 months, 180 days. Motion by Mr. Fitch, second by Mr. Spurling. Those in favor, if you'd raise your hand. Any opposed? That carries 8-1. We have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
That sounds like everybody.